Hello YouTube family and friends. Welcome to another edition of Making Life Changes Urban Gardening. Today I'm going to be answering a question that some of y'all put up about a previous video that I had called Do-It-Yourself Gardening Soil Mel's Mix is the Best. Basically how to make your own gardening soil and save hundreds of dollars in the process. But one of the ingredients in that mix was compost. And so I had a lot of people ask me, well, how do you make compost? There's gardening shops, landscaping shops that do nothing but sell mulch and sell compost and gardening soils, and they can get quite expensive. So in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how you can make the most important ingredient in your own gardening soil, which is compost. But before I do, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell so you don't miss any of our updates. And give us a like out there. Likes are really helping our channel grow. Our channel is still pretty new. Every new subscriber does make a difference. Remember, the health message is a part of God's message. In other words, it's the right arm of the gospel. God wants us in all things to prosper and be in good health. So that means we need to know how to take care of our bodies. And with the current situation, with our ongoing pandemic, we don't know what the future is going to bring. Even more problems, even more pestilence, as Jesus said in Matthew 24, pestilences, which is plural. So we as Christians and believers need to be preparing for the future and learning how to be self-sufficient. How to garden, how to grow our own food. So if the grocery store is shut down, if you can't go and buy or sell because that mandate is instituted and no prophecy tells us it will, then you will be able to survive by growing your own foods, making your own soil. All right, so these are the basic ingredients to make the nutrient-rich compost. Now, when you're making your own gardening soil, it's 3 parts. 1 part peat moss, you've got 1 part vermiculite, and you have 1 part compost. Compost is the most important ingredient out of all 3 because it's what contains the vitamins, the nutrients, the minerals that your plants, your vegetables are going to need to grow and thrive. So you want to put the right stuff in because you can make mistakes with compost. Not everything you put in your compost pile is good, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. And I'm going to give you an added bonus at the end of this video, so make sure you watch it all the way to the end. I'm in the kitchen. I like to keep a little bucket, and I fill it up with different scraps and different things I acquire around the house that I recycle, that I put in the compost bin, and then I transfer it to a bigger compost bin that I have outside. And I'll show you that here in a little bit later on in the video. About every 2 days, I go ahead and break this down. I'll show you how to do that, put it in smaller pieces so that it decomposes a whole lot quicker. Because one thing about compost, it takes time for the compost to be ready to put into your Mel's mix to make gardening soil. Outside, it can take up to a year if you don't follow some of the steps that I'm going to show you. Every 4 to 6 weeks, you can have compost ready to go into your Mel's mix or directly into your garden or your container. And one of the ways that you do that is by breaking items down so that they decompose rather quickly. But some of the things that we can put in there, we have the carrots that I just put in there. We also have some dried leaves, and I'm going to put those in there. I had some old apples that were starting to go bad, quartered them. I'm going to put them in there. And also banana peelings. Banana peelings are very, very rich in lots of vitamins, and your plants absolutely love it. So I'm going to take this banana peeling, I'm going to put it in there. And eggshells. Eggshells add calcium. You definitely need eggshells because plants love calcium, particularly if you're growing tomato plants. Tomato plants need calcium so they don't get blossom end rot. The calcium is really going to help it. Also, your pepper plants, they need calcium. So eggshells are going in there. If you have some old vegetables like spinach leaves or lettuce that's starting to go bad, put them in there. And you can take your old leaves that are in the garden that are starting to turn yellow and die. Don't throw those away. Don't toss them in the trash can or just throw them into your yard. Put those into your compost bin. Those can all decompose. They're rich nutrients that your plants are going to need. And also, I'm going to put some plain white paper. Paper, if you've got paper around the house, instead of throwing it in the trash, as long as it doesn't have any ink on it, you can put paper right in your compost bin. Paper towels, white paper towels, you can put those in it too. These will break down. This is wood. This is fibers that you need. Toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls are excellent. You know, just take these and tear them up. Break them into little pieces. You know, inch pieces, and you're going to put those in there as well. And I'm going to show you a way to break this down even further. Another thing that you can put in there, these little eggshell containers that you have that are made out of recycled paper. They're brown. You can see they're not, I'm not talking about the styrofoam. You don't want to put any styrofoam in there, but these things are really good. Now the formula for how much greens, and your greens are your vegetables. Your greens are bananas, eggshells, anything that breaks down that is food, like a vegetable or a fruit, banana peelings. Those are all considered your greens. Dried leaves, branches, small branches, twigs, paper towel rolls, eggshell crates, these are considered browns. The formula to make perfect compost is 80% green to 20% brown. Now, something else that you can put in your compost bin, and I highly recommend it, is coffee grounds. Whether they're decaffeinated or not, that's fine. You can put those in there. If you don't drink coffee, which is a good thing, not having caffeine in our diet, or you drink vegetarian, vegan coffee, you can put that in there too because it's plant-based. But it's not going to have the same effect as regular coffee grounds. What I like to do is call up to my local Starbucks or coffee house and ask them for their old coffee grounds. Give them your name, give them a couple days, and they will be more than happy to give you the old coffee grounds, and you can put those directly in your compost bin, which is going to add rich nitrogen and speed up the decomposition process in making the compost, and also it will attract good gardening worms into your garden that you need. And anytime you have earthworms in your soil, you have a healthy garden. Now, one thing that you absolutely cannot put in your compost piles are potatoes or potato skins. They will actually cause blights, particularly among your tomato plants in your garden and some of your pepper plants. You don't want to add potatoes. You also don't want to add fruits that are high in acids, like grapefruits or lemons or limes. Don't put those in your compost. You absolutely don't want to put any meat or anything that's going to break down and spoil, like, you know, you wouldn't add any dairy, no cheese. So what I like to do to speed this whole process up, now that, and you don't have to do it this way, but this is the way I do it, what I'm going to show you right now, is I like to take all of my scraps every 2 days or until I fill up a container about this size. I don't like to go really much beyond this size because I don't want it to start decomposing or rotting in my kitchen and drawing flies or smelling. That's just nasty. So we don't want to do that. I like to put them in my blender. Now, it's a good idea to wear a glove when you're doing this because it can get a little bit messy. So I do wear these little latex gloves pretty much when I'm doing anything gardening. Also, when I'm out in the garden, I wear them because I don't want to transfer disease to my vegetable. And I'm just going to keep filling this up and chopping it up until this entire container is full. And then I'll transfer it to a bigger compost bin that I have outside. Now you might be asking, what do you do if you don't have a blender or you don't want to break stuff up in your blender? You can put it directly into the compost bin, but you want to make sure that you chop it up as much as possible. In other words, the smaller, the better. Big pieces obviously take longer to break down. Small pieces break down a whole lot faster. You're helping the decomposition process by breaking up whatever it is you're going to compost into smaller pieces. Just keep that in mind. It's also a good idea to clean out your receptacle bin that you're using in the kitchen or throw it away every so often and get you a new container. Okay, so I'm back. We just finished breaking down all of our raw materials that we put into the compost bin in our blender. I'm going to show you what it looks like. It does look kind of gross. So I've taken my paper products and I've broke them down. They don't necessarily have to be broken down as small as the other because they're going to decompose rather quickly, particularly the recycled ones, because they've already been broken down once before, obviously, and recycled. And then I'm just going to take this all out to the compost bin and put it in there and show you what a good compost bin looks like and how you can speed the process up. So this is step one to speeding that process up. And remember, 80% of your greens to 20% of your browns. That's the perfect formula. You don't want to forget that. Okay, so I'm outside my compost bin, and this compost bin is a double bin. In other words, it's got two chambers in it. These are 17.5 gallons each is what they'll end up making in compost. I'll give you a link in the description below to show you where to get it. I'm not advertising for this compost bin or anything, but it's lasted me over 5 years now, and I'm still using it. It's working really good. I highly recommend it. But one of the things I like about it is that I can mark one side green, one side yellow, and the yellow is the one that I'm filling up. The green one is the one that's ready or almost ready, so that way I know. And so I'll end up putting this one, this side here, into my soil or into my Mel's mix while I'm getting the other side ready. And this is the side that I am putting the compost in today. And I always spin these around a little bit because when you spin them, you're mixing the compost, and that's what you want to do. You want to mix it up so that everything gets turned around, and that's really going to help the compost break down. And so this is one that I've been filling up for a while now, and I'm just going to put everything right in it. Dump it right in there. Once I fill it completely up, it will take about 4 to 6 weeks to be ready. And I'm going to dump all this straight into this compost bin. Put my lid on it. And then just turn it a few times. Until it's mixed up like that. You want to turn it every few days because it's going to help all this break down. And in about 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how small you got the pieces, how warm it is outside, these are all factors, it's going to eventually end up looking something like that. Nice, rich, very, very rich. And you will have some sticks and a few things still in there that have not broken down. And I just take them and throw them in the other side so they can continue to keep breaking down. And another thing you can tell when compost is ready, it will smell like dirt. It won't stink and smell like rotten food because that's what your other compost actually is. It's old food scraps and things breaking down and decomposing, so you know it's going to cause a smell. So rich compost, fresh compost, good compost that you can use doesn't have that smell, smells like dirt. And that's what you want it to smell like. Okay, so I told you that if you stuck around to the end, I'd have a couple extra tips for you. One of those tips is, what if you say, I don't have the budget or the space to put a large compost bin, but I still want to make compost? Well, you can do what I like to do, is you can get you a container that's about 3 to 5 gallons, has a lid on it. I like to use these old litter containers. I have a few cats, so I save them up and I use them for various things. It has a lid on it. If you don't have this, you can use a 5-gallon bucket that you can get in any hardware store with a lid. You can get them for a few bucks and just fill it up with the compost, and then every few days come out and just turn it. It's even okay to turn it upside down, leave it a couple days, come back and turn it again. If you do that in 4 to 6 weeks, you're going to have some great compost to go directly into your soil or to mix with your other ingredients of vermiculite and peat moss to make that super rich Mel's mix. Also, when you rinse out your container that had the compost in, it's going to have a lot of vitamins and nutrients, what we like to call a tea. Pour that directly into your squashes. So if you're growing summer squash, winter squash, pumpkins, zucchinis, acorn squash, any type of melons, you fill up your compost bin and you dump it, rinse it out with water, and pour that water with the residue from the compost directly into your squash plants. They absolutely love it. They're going to benefit from it. They're going to grow a whole lot faster, and you're going to see some really super large fruits produced off of those plants. Well, if we've helped you, help us keep coming to you by sharing this video. Don't forget to hit like. Leave a comment below if you have any other questions or videos that you would like to see about. And don't forget to subscribe and check out some of our other playlists, because the health message is the right arm of the gospel. I am making life changes, and you can too. God bless you.